further adventures of Curious Jack, Pinocchio, Snow White, Hansel and Gretel.
Hi, I'm Jack. I found the fern flower and was blessed with great wealth. However, I lost my family and friends instead and got distressed. You see, life taught me a lesson. Now, I'm sure every person needs friends to be happy. This is the further story of my life.
Jack opened his eyes. His vision was blurred and he rubbed his eyes with hands. He felt the smell of dust behind him wafting around. There was the faded fern flower next to him. He turned around and saw a big hole with crumbling sand.
Jack recalled his memories about the recent events in his life. Finding the fern flower, getting rich, losing the family. He remembered that the wind was howling terribly, thunder rumbling, and the bolt of lightning was ripping the sky in half.
All at once he reminded himself of falling into the darkness below and clinging to every root and stub, breathing hard and coughing constantly.
However, he didn't have time to think about all that properly. The dust dissipated and he saw a small king with the eyes staring blankly. The king was sitting in the small armchair, smiling sadly towards Jack.
In the distance, some people were working in the field. They were incredibly small. Small sheep were grazing in the rich green meadows beside the lakes as well. Numerous big hogs were watching everything fiercely from the branches of the trees.
Jack was going to say something when he froze suddenly. Large frogs were jumping up in their direction. Terrible long caterpillars were humping, horrible worms wiggling, and big bugs jiggling while moving forward slowly.
Where am I?
Jack shouted out fearfully.
You are in the enchanted kingdom. The small sad-looking king whispered quickly. The big fire-belching terrible dragon has enchanted us. He made us be very small. We are doomed to never-ending hard work for him. Nobody can escape because large beasts chase down the escapers and tear them up. We all fell prey to terrible dragon's power.
Jack felt pity for the king. His heart had already been on the right place, free from the roots of the fern flower. How can I help you? He asked the king.
The small king beckoned him to the small house.
Jack bent down to enter and saw a small fairy with eyes, also staring blankly. She was sitting at the small table with a small mirror on it.
There were some small bottles on the table and some small rings as well. Some not very large swords were lying in the corner of the room.
All these things are endowed with magical power,
The fairy said.
However, they can be magical only beyond the borders of our kingdom. Their magical things are to be used there 3 times.
After that, they will acquire magical power at our place too, but only unenchanted people can use them. Whom could I help beyond the enchanted kingdom?
Jack asked, having estimated the whole situation immediately.
The fairy clapped her hands and the mirror came alive.
Jack saw a hideous, ugly old witch wandering through a strange forest.
She walked with a scared boy holding him firmly by his hand.
The boy's name is Pinocchio. He is bewitched by this ugly woman. The witch is going to burn him in the oven. She needs fire to prepare a magical potion, said the fairy.
Only you can run away and help him. The terrible dragon hasn't learned about you yet, the king added.
Then Jack noticed the crying young queen.
It's Snow White. She has been kidnapped by the robbers. Her husband and 7 dwarfs failed to serve her. The fairy continued.
After that, Jack saw a boy and a girl. They were in good health. But why were they looking so sadly into empty boxes?
They are Hansel and Gretel. The thieves have stolen all their gold coins, said the fairy.
We are short of time. Let's go to the point, the king told to them decidedly. With this elixir of life you can attain immortality. If you wear this ring, with the eyelet inside, facing the palm, you will acquire invisibility. With this sword, you will be invincible.
But remember, my boy,
The fairy warned Jack.
terrible dragon possesses a magical wand.
It will make all of his wishes come true. You will have to outsmart him somehow.
Jack decided to try his luck. I must find Hansel and Gretel first, he thought. We will save Pinocchio and Snow White. Together we will defeat terrible dragon.
I will help you with all my might. Cross my heart and hope to die, he promised solemnly.
After he promised, Jack said goodbye to the king and the fairy, and hit the road. But before leaving, he took the little bottles, the rings and the swords. The little fairy told him how to get out of the kingdom. There was a secret passage behind the throne, but he should be careful, because some big sharp-toothed worms were at the end of the secret tunnel.
No one could escape so far,
Jack thought.
but I'm pretty bigger than them. I can fight against the worms.
So he disappeared into the tunnel. He walked down the narrow tube. It was very dark, and the little candle that fed him was too dim to light his steps. He couldn't see well and groped his way in the darkness. After a few miles he perceived a light in the distance.
Here I am at the end of the tunnel.
He thought, but coming up to the exit, he started hearing some strange growling and could see clearly the horrible shapes of the big worms.
What can I use to eat them?
He thought.
All objects the fairy gave me don't have magic powers in the kingdom.
Then he remembered his strength and determination when he was in search of the fairy flower.
Okay, Jack, a little sword is always a sword. So where is the problem?
He spoke to himself, and holding a sword in each hand, he dashed against the worms. He hit and cut and hurt the animals, and finally he went out of the tunnel, and he found himself in a peaceful and lovely wood.
Now I must find Hansel and Gretel.
He thought. He walked along the path, and suddenly he saw that the path split in 3 tracks. Jack didn't know which one to follow. He looked up, and he saw a wonderful oak screeching at him. He was flying in circles, and when Jack looked at it, it flew toward west. Jack thought it was a sign, so he decided to take the western path. He walked up and down hills, following the flight of the hawk, and suddenly, in the middle of a large glade, he saw a weird tree whose leaves seemed diamonds. Behind the tree, he could see someone who was hiding himself. It was a boy. Jack recognized Hansel and said,
Hansel, don't be scared, I'm a friend. My name's Jack, I want to help you. Where is Gretel?
Hansel looked at him fearfully.
My sister is behind that bush. She was afraid that you were a thief. Gretel, come here, he's a friend.
The little girl went out from the bush. She had an empty box in her hand and she was still crying.
Are you really a friend? Do you want to help us? We need those golden coins for our father. He's ill. And we need some money to cure him,
Gretel said.
Don't worry, I'll make you get your coins back.
Promised Jack.
Now tell me who were the thieves.
They were 7 little men with strange violet eyes. They stole our treasure and went away along this path. They didn't say a word.
Hansel replied.
Well, I'll go in search of them and I'll bring back your money. Don't be sad. Go back to your father's house and wait for me there.
He smiled at the children and went along the path.
Jack was walking at a good pace when he noticed a big white rabbit under the bush. It was really nice. Jack was attracted by it. He silently came up to it and caught it. Just in that moment he heard a voice calling,
"Whitey, Whitey, where are you?"
A young lovely girl appeared from the inside of the wood. She had long wavy blonde hair and blue eyes. She smiling at Jack.
"Oh, you found him. Thanks a lot for helping me to take my rabbit. Hi, my name's Alice. What are you doing in the wood?"
Jack answered.
Nice to meet you, Alice. I'm Jack. I'm looking for some thieves.
Alice seemed surprised.
"Thieves in the forest?"
Jack gave the rabbit to Alice and continued.
Yes, they are 7 little men with strange violet eyes.
7 little men with violet eyes and a bird? I've seen them, but I didn't think they were thieves. I've seen where they were going. I'll show you the way.
Alice and Jack followed the path of half a mile and they arrived at a junction. Alice said,
"I'll see them at this junction. They went down this path."
Jack looked at the path. It was full of cobwebs, dark trees and vine. Jack suddenly and said,
Thanks a lot, Alice. Now you can come back. I'll go on alone.
"No, Jack, you helped me with my rabbit and now I want to help you with the thieves."
Alice replied.
They went down the path as far as they reached the entrance of an old mine. They hid behind a rock near the entrance. Some voices came from inside. Jack told Alice they need to spy the thieves to understand where the treasure was.
Alice, wear this ring. It's a magic ring. Thanks to it, you'll be invisible. I'll wear a ring too.
Wearing the rings, they went inside. At the end of the tunnel, there was a light. Alice took Jack's hand and said,
"I'm afraid, Jack."
Jack answered,
Don't worry, Alice. We're invisible, and I'm here with you.
They walked along the tunnel and saw the 7 little men. Jack was speechless. The 7 thieves were Snow White's 7 dwarfs. Alice noticed that their eyes were violet and their teeth were sharp. 3 of them were carrying something very heavy. It was a big bag full of golden coins. They were saying,
"Tomorrow we must go to the dragon castle to give him the sword."
Jack and Alice had understood that also the 7 dwarfs were victims of a spell, just like the king and all the inhabitants of the enchanted kingdom.
Alice,
whispered Jack.
Tomorrow we'll follow the dwarfs to the dragon castle and we'll try to get to the treasure and free the dwarfs from the spell.
The following day the dwarfs left the mine, carrying the bag full of money. They were going to the dragon castle. Jack and Alice followed them and they tried to catch the bag. Every time they stopped for rest, but the bag was too heavy and Jack couldn't have moved it.
We can't take the bag, it's too heavy for us. If we only could break the spell, they would give us the money willingly. But how can we do?
Jack said sadly. Alice was thoughtful. Then they came up with an idea.
"I know who can help us, the Cheshire Cat. He's a magic white creature. He certainly knows who can to remove a spell."
Well, let's go to look for him. Where is he?
Alice answered.
"He sometimes appears in a special tree, a tree with diamond leaves."
I know where it is. Come back quickly.
Alice and Jack ran back to the tree in the glade, where Jack met Hansel and Gretel. Alice took the ring off and looked up into the tree. The white rabbit answered the cry. Suddenly a bright smile appeared among the diamond leaves.
Who is calling me? My dear friend, the white rabbit?
Yes.
Alice answered. The Cheshire cat showed off in a branch.
Alice, my dearest girl, what a surprise! What do you need?
Oh, my friend, I need wise suggestion. Some friends of mine are under a spell and I needed to free them.
If it's a witch or a dragon spell, you can remove it quite easily out of the enchanted kingdom. You must pour something magical in their eyes, because it's through the eyes that dragons cast their spell. The victim's eyes become usually violet.
The cat said.
Thank you very much, cat. I'm really grateful.
Alice kissed the cat and ran away with Jack.
In a little time they reached the dwarf, who were still hardly carrying the big bag. Alice wore the ring again.
What magical thing can you use?
She asked Jack. The only thing we can pour. We have to waste one of the bottles with the magical elixir, Jack replied. Then, silently, they came up to the dwarfs that were walking in single file and sprinkled some elixir into their eyes, of the first, then of the second, and so on. Immediately, the 7 dwarfs stopped and looked around, blinking.
Where are we? What are we doing?
They asked each other. Jack and Alice took their rings off and told them everything about dragon spell, Hansel and Gretel treasure, and the magical elixir. After a while, they all were on their way back, carrying the treasure for Hansel and Gretel.